Honorable members, let's pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who try to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we will take item 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official report. We will start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Friday, 17th February 2023. Page 1. Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, Honorable members, in the absence of any corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 8th sitting held on Friday, 17 February 2023 are adopted as a true record of proceedings. I have a copy of the official report of 7th July 2022. Honorable members, any corrections? Yes, please.
Honorable Speaker, please, I need clarification on column 70. The last subject. It is written unknown speaker. Unknown speaker. The last column under column 70. Unknown speaker.
Column 17.
No, column 70.
70.
Yes, please. The last item there is name unknown speaker, and I need clarification on that. It presupposes that the person who spoke was not identified.
Yes, Honorable Member, thanks for drawing our attention. We'll cross-check to see what actually happened.
Thank you, Speaker.
Yes. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the official report of Thursday, 7th July 2022 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. We move on to item 5, urgent question. Item 5, urgent question. The Minister for Health to take his appropriate seat. The urgent question stands in the name of Mr. Francis Xavier Kojososu, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Madina constituency. Honorable Member, you may ask your question now.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health the measures being taken to provide free cancer and tumor treatment for children holding valid NHIS cards in all public and private hospitals which have the requisite expertise and experience to deal with such conditions. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, children with cancers reserve the right to be treated under the NHIs, considering the high treatment cost. Recently, 4 childhood cancers have been included in the benefits package of the National Health Insurance Scheme. These are childhood Burkitt's lymphoma, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, Wilmot's tumor, and retinoblastoma. These 4 childhood cancers constitute 60% of all childhood cancer cases in the country. Treatment can be assessed in all public and private health facilities, including the faith-based facilities such as the Christian Health Associations of Ghana that are registered with the National Health Insurance Scheme. Meanwhile, the ministry is working to see how best to fund the rest of the 40%. So we are providing care for children with cancers. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the Minister for Health what urgent steps the ministry will take to include the 40%. What are you doing to include the 40%?
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, that is a difficult question for me to answer. When specifically? Remember when we started health insurance and over several years that we have practiced health insurance in our country, Initially, we didn't have childhood cancers being covered. It is only recently that we are gradually actually bringing in some of these cancers. And I believe going forward, when things improve for us, that is what we do. We do sustainability analysis of our health insurance system. And when we seem to have a leeway to actually bring in some of these cancers, we put them in there. We are focusing and making priority, giving priority to cancers with children and women. And I believe any time that we add on to our benefit package, this will be included. But we must tread cautiously for the sustainability of the health insurance we pride ourselves of. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the Minister whether, as a ministry, you have taken note of the number of children, sometimes with tumors and cancers, being paraded around the various streets with an intention of raising funds to support their treatment. And if you have, if that has come to your attention, has the ministry any plans to take steps to deal with that situation, given the fact that at least some cancers are covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I said earlier in my answer that we have taken care of 60% of childhood cancers. Apparently, 60% seem to constitute the commonest cancers in children. And so definitely you have some left 40% that I'm talking about. They are not very predominant as compared to the 60% that we are dealing with now. But like I said, we are not neglecting. We don't want to leave anybody behind. But we are treading cautiously to ensure sustainability of our schemes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, your last supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the Minister what the ministry would do about these outstanding 40%, because it's becoming a nuisance that you'll be driving around the street and a child with some form of tumor or cancer is being paraded and people are soliciting for funds to support that child. Would the ministry consider some public education or some form of some public education in respect of those conditions, so that anytime children are being paraded around like that, the ministry, people who have knowledge or information on those children could refer them to some facilities that the ministry will probably prescribe, because it doesn't look good as a country that you be driving around the streets and children are being paraded. And sometimes I feel we become like a country without a conscience. So would the ministry consider an action like that?
Mr. Speaker, the ministry is working in collaboration with several civil society organizations, NGOs, that do advocacy in educating the populace in terms of cancers and the type of things that we have. Mr. Speaker, the way my colleague is speaking, you can feel straight away that those parading the streets might not have encountered any facility even for any diagnosis to be done. It may be that the type of diseases that they have will be part of the 60% that they're dealing with. So we need to up our education, I've taken note of that, to ensure that children with such conditions are first taken to facilities, hospitals, for them to be diagnosed until the doctors say that this does not become part of the health insurance scheme. So go back and find something to do. Other than that, we will continue to have such situations in the middle of the streets. So we will up our education and health promotion issues and see how best we can get all those kids in the streets to the hospital, first for diagnosis, before we see how we can differentiate between what is covered by the benefit package or the ones that are not covered. But I keep on saying that the very common ones are those that we have captured, the four, to do coverage for. But going forward, it's very, 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 very likely as part of our strategy to add on the remaining diseases of cancers in children. Thank you very much.
Well, honorable members, I think we've exhausted the urgent question.
Mr.
You want to ask a supplementary question?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to find out from the Minister of Health if he's also aware that a lot of these cases sometimes are not necessarily cancers. I've seen some with hole in the heart issue. I've seen some with fistulas, some with congenital abnormalities, and are not necessarily cancers or tumors. And I think that in addition to his work, is it possible that social and gender ministry can support in catering to some of these children on the street? Unfortunately, they are paraded as tumors, but they are not.
Yes, Minister.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very much aware of that situation. Some of them are not cancers. That is why when I was answering, I said to my colleague that the very common ones are those that have been picked. So let everybody get to a hospital in the first instance, and then let us see the diagnosis, what comes out, before we begin to think about whether it is cancer or not. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We move on to item 6, non-urgent questions. The first question is question numbered 450. Stands in the name of Mr. Kwame Jujoli Gakwe, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kita. Honorable Member, you may ask the question now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Health the status of free maternal health policy in the country.
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the free maternal health policy introduced in 2008 by the New Patriotic Party is still active and covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme. It includes the following: all pregnant women enjoy automatic NHIS registration upon confirmation of pregnancy. There is no waiting time for pregnant women to receive services upon registration as per the law. The package for maternal services has been expanded to include laboratory, ultrasound, blood tests, etc., and the management of acute episodes of morbidities, including emergencies. Mr. Speaker, the free maternal health policy is implemented at all levels of service delivery in our teaching hospitals, regional, district, sub-district hospitals, and even in ship compounds. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, was the policy introduced by government or by party?
Honorable Speaker, let me insert government by the National Patriotic Party government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your correction.
Yes. A party can propose a policy, but to introduce it, it must be by a government. So even if you have said the New Patriotic Party is government, then that is understandable. Yes. Honorable Member, any supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for asking my first question. Mr. Speaker, I would like to find out from the Minister, is he aware that though the free maternal policy is working as it claims, the pregnant women are paying for a lab cost as well as cesarean section they are asking them to pay? Is he aware?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm aware of some of the things happening in some of our facilities, where though we have some service delivery incidences covered by health insurance package, but some facilities continue to charge and even charge for medicines and things like that. But I'll appeal to my colleague that we find it difficult getting all these challenges until people begin to complain and tell us what is happening in the local facilities. So my colleague, if you have certain examples in your constituency, we have NHIA district officers. So find a way to let them get to know, and they will carry the message to us, and will confront the facilities that are doing those things to try to resolve such incidences. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to find out from the Minister, based on his answer, is he aware about a investigative piece done by Joy FM? They call it Pay or Die, where pregnant women are detained until they pay for their expenses before they are released. Is he aware about that documentary also?
Yes, Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid I'm not aware of this documentary that my colleague is talking about.
Yes, your last supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to find out from the Minister when these issues are surrounding are cut across the whole country about pregnant women paying for lab and all that came to his attention. Was he able to do anything about it? What is the strategy to that?
Yes, Minister.
Yes, Speaker, we pick a lot of information from the media, but in this particular instance, I'm afraid I cannot own up that I'm aware of this. I'm not aware. I will check on it and see what was actually reported. But I believe that is exactly what he has put in front of me here now that I'm trying to answer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable members, we move on to question number 571 on the order paper. It stands in the name of Mr. Seidu Isifu, the honourable member for Nalergu Gambaga. Honourable member, you may ask your question now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health the plans the ministry has to upgrade the Gambaga Health Center to a polyclinic. Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are aware that Gambaga is the capital of the East Mamprusi municipality. There is a Baptist hospital at Nalergu, which serves as a district hospital to the population. Therefore, due to proximity and the ministry's policy of one district, one hospital, it is not feasible to upgrade the facility currently to another district hospital. However, I want to give an assurance that as and when the ministry receives any financial proposal in line with the government hospital infrastructure project, Gambaga will be duly considered for a refurbishment and upgrade to a polyclinic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honourable member, any supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the minister's response, he's alluded to the fact that due to proximity, Gambaga Health Center is not in the radar for an upgrade. Is the minister aware that the Baptist Medical Center does not only serve the Nalergu Gambaga enclave, it extends to Yunyo, Bunkurugu, if possible, even Cherponi. So the coverage area of this hospital is quite vast. So there's a lot of congestion in this hospital. So I was rather of the view that because of these peculiarities, Gambaga, if it is possible, Gambaga could be looked at as a special case for consideration to be upgraded to a polyclinic. Is the minister aware of the level of congestion in BMC and its status as a referral hospital? Thank you.
Yes, honourable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just I've mentioned that we're looking forward to upgrade Gambaga, our health center, into a polyclinic when resources become available. When that is done, we will offload some of the congestion in BMC to the Gambaga polyclinic. But that will depend on how quickly we get resources to do that. But at least I know of other smaller facilities in your constituency. I have visited Binde, and the facility there was just super. They take a lot of primary care issues there. There are other small compounds beyond Binde to Yunyo and Bumprugu. So the congestion in BMC, if you're able to upgrade Gambaga into a polyclinic and increase service delivery at Gambaga, the congestion will slow down a little bit for us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it looks like myself and the minister are operating at the same level. I want to find out, because of these complexities and the nature of the problem we have at the Baptist Medical Center, is it in a position to assist us to make a special case? Mr. Speaker, I am saying a special case because the Gambaga Health Center already has some facilities that are close to that of a polyclinic. They have a medical doctor, they have a physical assistant, they have all those things. What the hospital, what the clinic requires, health center requires, is just the ward, provision of the wards, and also a theater. So it is very easy to get this to a status. I want to find out whether the minister can assist us catalyze this need so that we can get it upgraded.
Actually, Minister, the honorable member is asking for the hospital to be upgraded to a municipal hospital, not a district hospital. Your answer is talking about district hospital, but it's asking for a municipal hospital, which you know is higher than a district hospital. That is what he's asking for, because that is now a municipality. And Gambaga is the capital of that municipality. So he's looking for a higher one, not a small district hospital. So please, it's just upgrading. He has given you all the facilities they have, adding something to it to make it a municipal hospital.
Mr. Speaker, I've taken note of my colleague's plea, but there are other things that are coming around to that same area. Northeast deserves a regional facility, and we have earmarked between Nalerugu and Gambaga to put a regional hospital there. So putting a new Mampusi municipal hospital in addition to a regional facility. But I've taken note of his plea. We will see how best we can work on that. I know that area quite well, Mr. Speaker. I will see the best I can do for the people in Gambaga and Nalerugu. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I don't agree with the last statement being made by the minister.
Honorable member, it's not for you to agree or disagree. You ask a question, he gives you an answer. You can disagree with him, but this one you have to ask a supplementary question. When you disagree with him, go and meet him and disagree with him there. But here you have to ask another supplementary question. Special dispensation because of Gambaga. Gambaga is a special town. You know, it's not just the scarp, but Gambaga historically has been the capital of the whole Northern Territories. It's a special town that should be given some special consideration. I support you, but ask your last supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so what my last question to the minister is just to draw his attention to the fact that if we are looking at putting up a regional hospital, it is not supposed to be compensated for the municipal hospital, because in other areas we have regional hospitals, we have polyclinics and things like that. All these things are geared towards quality healthcare delivery. I want to propose to him that whether there's a regional hospital in the offing, there is the need for us to look at this Gambaga status and see how we can upgrade it quickly to a municipal hospital. This is my plea to the minister. Thank you.
Well, it's not a supplementary question. Yes, an appeal.
Supporting my cause. Thank you.
Yes, an appeal. Thank you so much. Yes, Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the minister's answer, he stated that the Baptist Hospital Honorable, is the reason why there will not be a district hospital. Now, what I want to know from the minister is that Baptist hospital a government hospital or a mission hospital? And then his second answer, he said that there are plans for a regional hospital. Can the minister provide some details on the timeline of that regional hospital that he's talked about, when the fund will be ready, when that project, which is the basis for not building a district hospital, a municipal hospital that has been asked for? Can you give us more details about that regional hospital?
You see, because of your position as a leader, that's why I've given you this dispensation. You are asking a number of supplementary questions at the same time. Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as to the leader's questions, some of them I cannot answer. Questions that are when specific days and timelines in our strategic plan will be very, very difficult for me to do so. I stand here and I always think about the Insurances Committee before you take me over there to ask me questions. So I don't want to commit myself into things. It's part of our strategic plan, and I believe it will happen not very far away, but soon. Mr. Speaker, I just want to inform my colleague that we have been collaborating, the ministry and government, with the missions to run some facilities for us in some districts. In that respect, some mission hospitals have been dedicated and identified and assigned as our district hospitals. We pay their doctors, we pay their nurses, we give them equipment if we have them. At times we help them even to do infrastructure. And BMC is one of such facilities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we now move on to question number 720, which stands in the name of Mr. Francis Xavier Kojo-Sosu, the Member of Parliament for Madina. Honorable member, you may ask your question now.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health, what specific measures are in place to improve health infrastructure in Madina, including the construction of a CHIPS compound within Madina West and Madina Zongo, and operationalization of CHIPS compounds at Otinibi and Taiman.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that currently the named communities, unfortunately, have not been captured in our 2023 plans and budgets for any construction of CHIPS compounds. The ministry is, however, liaising with the Ghana Health Service for an assessment to be done based on the request and evaluating them for consideration and budget in the ensuing years. Mr. Speaker, the ministry's ability to implement this will largely depend on the quantum of budgetary allocation to the ministry in subsequent years. The Otinibi and Termite CHIPS compound are all ongoing projects under the Assembly. The ministry will work closely with the Assembly to ensure completion and use. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, any supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to get the Minister of Health clearly. Please, are you saying that the health infrastructure of Madina, or allocation to improvement of health infrastructure of Madina, is not captured under the 2023 budget year? Because that is the first part of the question, and I think I was hearing you say that that was not captured in the budget. Because the first part is the steps being taken to improve health infrastructure. Because considering the fact that Madina as a constituency is expanding, over 200,000 citizens living in Madina, are you saying that we were not captured in the 2023 budget as far as infrastructure is concerned in Madina?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as part of our plans, we are thinking about the entire nation. and we identify based on assessments, we haven't been able to capture the specific communities we are talking about in our very, very short-term plans. But like I said, based on your demand, we are asking Ghana Health Service to do an assessment for us to see how we can situate easily there. But Mr. Speaker, as I say this, I will ask my colleague to begin to liaise with the landowners in Madina to enable us to get land to put what will come your way going forward in that place. See, the unfortunate thing is that the Ghana East Hospital, where we used to treat COVID, was supposed to have been at this hospital for Madina. Because of land issues, we had to relocate, and that is how come we got it close to atomic energy. So though we are working towards getting facilities everywhere, our two things determine the site location of the hospitals: land issues and then budgetary resources. When we get budgetary resources and we don't have land, it will be difficult. But we are on our part looking for budgetary resources, and you also, as my colleague in the area, also begin to look for land, and let us see how we can collaborate to meet. When we get resources, we wouldn't find challenges with land. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would want to thank the Minister for extending these hands of fellowship to me, particularly with respect to the fact that, the matter has been brought to his attention, he is willing to do something about it. For example, within Madina Zongo, there is a place that can be used for a chief's compound, and anytime we are ready, we can work on that. And when we talk about land also for a major infrastructure, the Danfa community, the Danfa chief has reached out. And I know there was some effort to begin some Agenda 111 project there. So at least something is ongoing, and I believe a little commitment from the side of government in respect of those matters should be able to lead us through. But again, talking about health infrastructure, the Municipal Health Directorate itself has challenges when it comes to funding of the Municipal Health Directorate in Madina. As we speak now, they had to relocate, and so I want to find out, what specific steps would you take to assist the Municipal Health Directorate as part of contribution to health infrastructure in Madina to furnish their office and their accommodation? Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Yes, Speaker. I didn't prepare to come to answer questions on directorates. They're a different board game altogether. But since all of it depends on budgetary allocations and resources, anytime that we have things available, we will see how best we can support the directorates. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I want to crave your indulgence, particularly the Minister for Health, to acknowledge the presence in the House of a distinguished delegation from the Parliament of Panama. They refer to it as National Assembly. National Assembly of Panama, and proceed to introduce them to you. They are on a very important visit to Ghana, and the delegation is here to, among other things, hold discussions in the area of parliamentary collaboration, bilateral economic cooperation, and ways of strengthening relations between the two countries. The visit is further intended to create a platform for networking between honorable members and their counterparts in Panama, with the aim to deepen relations between the two legislatures. With your kind permission, I introduce the delegation. My colleague Speaker, Honorable Cristiano Navarro. He is the President of the National Assembly. And he is accompanied by his wife. Don't be jealous. Your beautiful wife, Mrs. Margarita de Leon Martinez. She is the president of the spouses of parliamentarians in the National Assembly. Your colleagues in Nigeria also have MP Spouses Association. You don't have. With Mr. Speaker is Honorable Kaira Harden-Bat. She is the Vice President of the National Assembly. And she is also the Vice President of the Para-Americas Parliament. For your information, the Para-American Parliament is the union parliament of all Latin American parliaments. A similar one we have here is the ECOWAS Parliament. That's where she is also the Vice President. And she is here not alone. She is here with her husband. And the husband is your own, a son of the soil. He's a Ghanaian. Prince Anthony Kwesi Bat Apia. By the name,
have you ever seen how you
by the name alone, you know where he comes from. He is a son of the Umayhine of Akwomu.
You see how you gave the black man cheers.
Many of you don't know how important Akwomu is in the history of Ghana. You don't know it. Go and read. You know, the key of the castle, Osu Castle, is at Akwomu Fie. They conquered and took over the castle before. Is that where you come from? Please, on your behalf, I want to warmly welcome them together with the Consul General here to Turkey, in the name of His Excellency Abraham Segofia de Leon. And they are accompanied by a number of officials. The first is Mr. Darren Robinson and Mr. Camilo Gordon. The last but not the least is Mr. Maximilian Monastero. These are investors who have come to exploit the country to see opportunities to invest in Ghana. We have already invested through marriage. And the information I gather is that they have this special interest and they want to actualize it between Ghana and Panama. On behalf of the members of Parliament, on behalf of Parliament of Ghana, and on my part, I welcome the delegation to Parliament. and I wish them fruitful deliberations. You are back home. You are always welcome. Enjoy the warm hospitality of the people of Ghana. You are welcome. Honorable members, we'll get back to questions. After that, you can interact with them. Those of you who want to go to Panama, they will definitely make it possible. I don't know how many of you have ever been there. How many of you have ever been to Panama? Oh. Oh, 0. 1. Yes. We immediately form a friendship association and arrange for them to visit Panama. Honorable members, the next question is question number 740. Stands in the name of the honorable member, Mr. Andrew Dari Chiwite, the honorable member for Sola Tuna Kalba constituency. Honorable member, you may ask your question now. Yes, please.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. My colleague and friend, Honorable Chiwite, is receiving a delegation of chiefs from his constituency. So he has therefore delegated me to ask this question on his behalf. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you may ask the question on his behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health when the Porum Chips compound, which was about 90% complete in 2016, will be completed and finished for use. Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am informed that the Porum Chips compound contract was awarded in the year 2016 by the Sola Tuna Kalba District Assembly to a company named NBA Paradise Company. The main building has been completed, plastered, and roofed, but the doors and windows are yet to be fixed. The painting and finishing works are still outstanding. The source of the funding for the project is the District Development Fund. However, the project has stalled due to the erratic flow of funds. Mr. Speaker, the District Assembly has indicated that the contract is to be repackaged and awarded for finishing as captured in their composite budget and annual action plan for 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, any supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Minister what steps the Minister will take to ensure that, as indicated in the statement, that this project will be repackaged in 2023 for the finishing of this project for the people of Porum.
I see the answer to be the composite budget and the annual action plan for the District Assembly, not the Minister of Health. And the District Assemblies are not under the Minister of Health. I don't know how the Minister can come in here.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was just wondering if the Minister can help ensure that this project is, because it's directly under his ministry, though the project is not. I'm told that the Porum community is very far away from the Sola town, and the people are really having challenges in terms of health service delivery. So somehow we want to, the Minister to help ensure that this facility is completed. even though it is not, was not awarded by him. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minister, in the Ministry of Health can do to help complete the project.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the only thing I can tell my colleague is the fact that information we got actually came from our district directorates, those who went to find out from the Assembly how they were trying to finish that facility. So I may only have to get back to them and try to press him to push the MCE to ensure that during their 2023 budget implementation, this facility is not left behind. We will be ready to support with equipment when they finish the project. As far as those are not fitted, there are a few more things to do. That is the only thing we can. The only thing we can do is to wait and let them finish it. The repackaging, unfortunately, cannot be done by us. It is those who awarded the contract who can actually terminate and repackage. So we will try and remind the chief executive in the area to see how best he can work with the 2023 composite budget to complete the facility. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, any further supplementary?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you. I think what the minister is just an appeal because, like I said, I know the community in question. It's an appeal, even though I'm not from that constituency. So we are appealing to the minister to use his good offices to ensure that this project is completed for the good people of Kuru. Thank you.
That is just an appeal, so it's not a supplementary question. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, with respect, even though the minister has answered the question, some of the answers are worrying. And because, so you are reading from the minister's own answers, what is outstanding? The contract was awarded in 2016. And what is outstanding is painting and finishing works, as I can read from his answers. It's worrying. And the difficulty is that there is the depth of flow of funding from the DDF. So I want to find out from the minister, do we have an establishment at the ministry that is able to supervise, to know health-related projects that necessarily are not funded by the ministry? For instance, DDF, it comes under the auspices of the District Assembly. But here he is answering questions related to that. So what is the correlation between your outfit, projects that are health-related, but yet being funded by the Assembly?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think I've said earlier that we collaborate with the assemblies. We have actually informed the district chief executives and the municipal chief executives that anytime they want to embark upon a health project, they should let us know. In the first place, we have an infrastructure department that even approves of their design before they award these contracts. But there are several projects, health projects, dotted across the country on the blind side, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, of the ministry. Mr. Speaker, you are aware of these things that I'm talking about. They wouldn't inform you until a member of parliament comes here to ask about a facility. They go and do a search, and it was awarded by the assembly. So when it comes to a notice like this, we begin to then talk to the assembly to see how best and what help we can give to support. This one involves a contract to be funded by DDF. Contract awarded. They may have to take the contract terminating processes to actually terminate, repackage, re-award. Let us see what new funding that it is that they are going to use. Now that they have identified the source for funding to complete it in 2023, we will continue to collaborate and get to them to see how best that project is completed. But honestly, we don't even have the resources to go and push back there. The only thing is that our regional and district directors will continue to put the pressure on the assembly to see how best they can complete these projects. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want some clarity from the minister on the issue of health centers or facilities that are provided by district or municipal or metropolitan assemblies, and sometimes MPs. The relationship or the kind of linkages that exist between the local government ministry and the Ministry of Health. And I say this because there are instances where health facilities are provided, but the capacity to man those health facilities are exclusive of the Ministry of Health or the Ghana Health Service, which falls under the Ministry of Health. Under that circumstance, what happens? And I'm saying this because I got a Qatar charity to provide a health center, a clinic in my conscience. After the clinic was provided, the responsibility to furnish the place was then left with me as the MP to provide. And I knew that it was the responsibility of the Ghana Health Service. So I had to do that. So having provided the facilities, the manpower to run the facility itself was a problem because the Metropolitan Health Directorate felt that there wasn't that communication between they on one hand and the Metropolitan Assembly. How do we avoid some of these challenges?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this seems to be a peculiar constituency MP specific matter. I also have had that experience. But if you're MP and you try to put up a facility, you don't do it on the blind side of the district or the municipal health directorate. When they get to know, they follow you up and give you the support that you need. There was one particular community in my constituency that decided to put up a chip compound themselves. They did a design. They went up to the roof. Then they came to me, and I went to visit the place. That time, I wasn't even a health minister, but I saw a lot of things wrong with the design. So I went to the district directorate. They had an estate person there, took him to the facility to try and look at how best we can pull some places to redesign the place to suit what the health people would like. That was done. And eventually, I took over that facility to provide resources from my health fund, together with the district director, to try to fit that place. When they finished. I had to follow the ministry to try to see if we can get some equipment in the stores to try to put it in there. For furniture, I still have to procure some with my health fund to fit that place. The place is not. The district director gets involved. It becomes his responsibility to provide the nurses and the midwives to do that or the MP again. But if the MP in it and wants to run it himself for the community, then you will not get the staff that you need. So when you finish and hand it, they will give you the appropriate staff that you need, capacity to manage the facility. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, we now move to the next question. Question number 1046 stands in the name of Dr. Kisen Adomako, the honorable member for Anya Souchu. Honorable member, you may ask your question now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always a wonderful opportunity. This question has to do with non-communicable diseases, specifically hypertension, stroke, and diabetes. A lot has been done with regards to COVID. I know how much you spent as a ministry to support the reduction or the death associated with COVID. But hypertension, diabetes, and stroke is actually killing a lot of our people. And I would like to know what measures the ministry is currently taking to help reduce the losses of very precious lives to these diseases. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, I really love and I encourage people to innovate and to try to improve on things. But this is a house where we have rules and we have a way of doing things. So you have to ask the question as we presented it. Because now, in what you just said, you have used some terms different from what is in the question. The minister has submitted a written answer according to the question you posed to him. Now you've used different terminologies.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I'll take notice of that.
Yes, please.
So can I read it all?
Yes, ask the question.
Okay. This is a question to ask the Ministry of Health. Steps being taken to address diseases such as stroke, hypertension, diabetes, and measures being taken to reduce the number of lives lost due to these diseases in our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health is undertaking the following steps to reduce the large number of diseases such as strokes, hypertension, and diabetes in the country. 1. The Ministry of Health, recognizing the increasing incidence of NCDs, has reviewed and launched the National NCDs policy and strategy, and implementation has started and is ongoing. The objectives of the NCDs policy are to reduce exposure to risk factors that contribute to NCDs, strengthen early detection and management to reduce morbidity and mortality from NCDs, strengthen the health system for NCD prevention and control, strengthen multi-sectoral collaboration for NCD prevention and control, and ensure sustainable funding and other resources for NCD prevention and control. 2. Treatment guidelines for cardiovascular diseases has been completed, and this is in use. 3. Treatment guidelines for diabetes has also reached the final draft stage and will soon be completed for use. 4. Treatment guidelines of all the other NCDs are ongoing. 5. Piloting of wellness clinics for early detection and diagnosis of NCDs has commenced in 6 districts as part of the implementation of the NCD policy and strategy. 6. The essential medicines list is being updated to include NCD drugs. 7. The Ministry has inaugurated the National NCD Steering Committee, which comprises of all MMDAs to assist in the governance of NCD prevention and control. 8. Partnership with Novartis for diabetes clinics. 9. Partnership with Roche for Herceptin for breast cancer treatment on NHIA drug list. And 10. The partnership with GRZ for the implementation of the Heart Initiative. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member, any supplementary?
Mr. Speaker, there will be no supplementary to that. Very satisfactory. Thank you.
Most grateful. Honourable members, the same honourable member has another question to ask, and that is question number 1047. Do so now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question 1047 has to do with how the Ministry of Health how the ambulance commute time can be further improved to enhance the efficiency of ambulance service, noting the bad nature of some roads in my constituency like Antieku, Anya NIC, Santa Maria, Lumnava, and Soto. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one of the key performance indicators of the operations of the National Ambulance Service is case response time, which is the time it takes the ambulance to respond to an emergency call after being dispatched by the Emergency Medical Dispatch Center. The current average CRT of the service is 20 minutes. Internationally, this should not be more than 10 minutes, all things being equal. Mr. Speaker, one of the factors resulting in the high call response time in our country is a bad road network, which affects the movement of the ambulance to respond to cases swiftly. The bad road network also affects ambulances, leading to mechanical components failures and thereby hampering the operations of the service. Mr. Speaker, to improve the ambulance commute time to enhance operational efficiency of the service, there are two issues which could be considered. One, to improve the road network in the Enya-Sutum constituency, which is the responsibility of the urban roads on the Ministry of Roads and Highways, as well as the Municipal Assembly. Two, the establishment of additional ambulance stations within the municipality to ensure that ambulances do not travel long distances to respond to emergency cases. The second issue, Mr. Speaker, which is the responsibility of the Ministry of Health, requires the procurement of more ambulances and the training of emergency medical technicians. Currently, the government is in the process of procuring additional 112 ambulances for the National Ambulance Service, whilst the service is also in the process of training more EMTs who will be deployed to open more stations. I would like to inform my colleague, the Honourable Member for Enya-Sutum, that an additional ambulance station will be established in the constituency when the new ambulances are received and personnel are trained. We will collaborate with the urban roads and the Municipal Assembly to ensure that the road network within the constituency is improved to enhance the operational efficiency of the National Ambulance Service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, any supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm actually very happy with the connection of road network to health and how the Minister has elaborated. And I'm also thankful to note that we'll be getting another ambulance considering our population. So I think these answers are just apt. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, we are grateful for your brevity. The next question is question number 1150. Stands in the name of Mr. Alfred Obing Boatin, the Member of Parliament for Bibiani, Ajiaso Bekwai. Honourable Member, you may ask your question now. Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Yes, go on.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Health what plans his ministry has to improve the facilities of Sefibekwai Health Center, given its importance to the healthcare needs of the people within the municipality.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Health is aware that the population of Sefibekwai is growing, and as part of our policy, it will require a much wider service package than it has currently. This means that the health center would, in order to attract the required facilities and staff. However, the facility at Sefibekwai has not been earmarked for upgrading, unfortunately, in our 2023 capital investment plan. And for that matter, our budget for an upgrade this year. Mr. Speaker, we will, however, liaise with the Ghana Health Service to carry out an assessment based on this request and evaluate the facility for consideration and budget in the ensuing years. And our ability to implement this will largely depend on the budget allocation to the ministry in subsequent years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Alfred Obeng, any supplementary question?
Right, Honourable Speaker, I am very happy that the Minister is now aware of the large population of people within the Bekwai enclave. And I'm also happy he's aware of the nature and condition of the only healthcare delivery center within the area. My question then is, can the minister, as an interim measure, assist in renovating the healthcare center, the only healthcare center we have within the enclave, as we wait for that upgrade? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've already mentioned that an assessment is going to be done. But I will consult with my colleague in the corridors and outside the chamber to see what interim immediate things that we can do to support his request. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Alfred, are you exhausted?
Yes.
Very well.
I'm okay. Thank you.
So let's turn to question 1328. 1328, and it stands in the name of a member for Juabuso, Honorable Kabraminta Akando. Yes, Honorable Akando.
He's not on.
Very well, Honorable Mark. Let's hear you on behalf of Akando.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Health what plans the ministry has for the redevelopment of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital.
Very well, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that the redevelopment of Accra Psychiatric Hospital remains a priority for the ministry and is captured under the Agenda 111 flagship project. Mr. Speaker, a consultant has been appointed and the design stage is about to be completed, beyond which tenders will be called for execution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes. Honorable, any supplementary question?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, the land on which the Accra Psychiatric Hospital is located is a prime land. And when we paid a visit to the place 2 years ago, we expressed, as a committee, our reservation about part of the land being released to a private developer. That is, whether it was a PPP and part of the land was going to be released to a private developer, or the government was going to develop everything. I want to know, now that the design phase, from the minister's answer, that it has been completed, what is the type of arrangement that is in place? Whether it is government going to develop the whole land, or part of it is being given to a private developer, the land.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that was being considered, but no more. After this was listed as part of Agenda 111, the idea and the concept and the thinking of a private developer joining to develop Accra Psychiatric Hospital has actually been suspended. We are not thinking about that any longer. So we are going ahead to actually do the design and implement and build a proper government facility for Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable. Your last.
Mr. Speaker, it is clear that Agenda 111 projects cannot be completed by the end of 2024 as promised by the President. Indeed, during budget hearing, they said about 30% will be completed in 2027. So, and when we paid a visit to the place, in fact, it was very, very appalling. The place was very, very bad. So what steps in the interim is the ministry taking to improve conditions at the hospital?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Yes, Speaker, I've also been visiting Accra Psychiatric Hospital. From time to time, when we get some little allocations on our infrastructure budget, we support a little bit. Sometime in 2022, we have to allocate for refurbishment of toilet facilities in Accra Psychiatric Hospital. We are not getting much to actually do what we actually plan to do, unfortunately. But when we get some resources, we don't forget about Accra Psychiatric Hospital. We put in some little things to try to support the facility. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the minister's answer, he states that the redevelopment of the psychiatric hospitals is really a priority for government. He goes on to say that a consultant has been appointed and the design phase is about to be completed. What he doesn't do is that he doesn't give us specifics. Can the minister provide timelines on when the consultant will complete his work and when the design phase will be completed, since this is a priority for government?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I may have to do some checks to come back to actually respond to this question, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. We now turn to question 1332. 1332. And the question stands in the name of Honorable Alexander Akwesi Akwa Akimoda. Honorable Member for Akimoda, the floor is yours. Honorable Member, if you can turn to another seat, it appears there's a problem with your speaker.
Speaker, I think there is a problem. He has moved about 4 steps and is still struggling. So probably, with your leave, you should come a bit forward and.
Hey, how are you here? You don't want to cross carpet.
If he's speaking from my table, you can't let.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes. This question will definitely be asked today.
Yes, but the good people know.
Mr. Speaker, I'm on my feet to ask the Minister for Health, efforts being made to increase the intake at nursing training colleges, especially in places like Akimoda Nursing Training College, that has the capacity to admit more students.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, though some nursing training colleges, like Achimoda, like my colleague said, have the capacity to take up more students, but there are other requirements, such as inadequate number of tutors, learning materials, and training sites amongst others, that might be causing the limited admissions. The ministry is therefore working assiduously to train and recruit more tutors, expand the laboratories, and provide adequate learning materials to ensure quality training for the requisite skill mix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Upper. Any supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask if the minister is open to private developers who want to take advantage of the vast land to build structures on a PPP basis.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, that is an option. That is an option. By PPP, you have to go through a certain process, as actually enacted in the PPP law. So we will look at that area. But Mr. Speaker, I just want to inform my colleague that yesterday I was in Sunyani, there's a midfield training college. The principal and his management in that school have put up a 3-story facility for accommodation for the students. And everybody who went there with me, the Director General Ghana Health Service, the Regional Director Ghana Health Service, we were together, was amazed at how that was done through IGF generation. So let us look at how IGF is utilized in that school. Let us see how we can expand capacity in the school to be able to give you a lot more numbers that we are looking at. So I've suggested 2 options. Your suggestion of PPP and IGF utilization, efficiency into it, to see how they can build something that will make us add on the numbers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Akwa, have you exhausted on it? Very well. So we take the last question from you again. Question 1333. Question 1333. So you may take the last question. Substantive
Speaker, thank you for another opportunity to ask the Minister for Health what efforts are being made to improve the capacity of very old hospitals like the Achim Odan Government Hospital, which is about 90 years old, and in other communities that are yet to benefit from government flagship program Agenda 111.
Very well. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister is very much aware of the population growth in Brim Central and its environs, and also the fact that it is not covered under the Agenda 111 flagship project. Therefore, the Ministry has planned for an upgrade and redevelopment of the Achim Odan Government Hospital. Further to this, Mr. Speaker, a memorandum of understanding has been signed between the Ministry and the prospective contractor. To this end, the Ministry has commenced the preparation of a project concept note for the consideration of the Ministry of Finance as required by the Public Investment Management Regulation. I hereby therefore inform members of the House that 90-year-old hospital, Achim Odan Hospital, will soon receive a befitting facelift to serve the good people of Brim Central and its catchment area when the necessary processes are completed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Akwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was in the hospital yesterday, and I realized that the hospital has just 2 years to be 100 years. So it's not 90 years, it's 98 years. Would the Minister be kind enough to share with me when was this MOU signed and which contractor are we referring to here?
Yeah, Minister. Can you share the information with the Member of Parliament?
Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence and my colleagues' indulgence, let me share that information with him. It is specific in the corridors outside the chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, with your kind indulgence, I want to refer the Minister to the page 21 of today's graphic. Yesterday, I visited the hospital, and the daily graphic was kind enough to feature it. I'm sure if the minister refers to that portion of the newspaper, he would see that the Oda people, the good people of Achim Oda, really need the hospital to be revamped. And I want to know how soon is the minister's soon?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when we move into semantics like this, it even makes the question a little bit more difficult. I've told my colleague that with indulgence, we will engage the corridors. I came here talking about when quickly we'll complete Fomina and Kumau. I was using the word soon, but I couldn't give a specific date. Today, Mr. Speaker, you bear me out. These facilities are fully completed and will soon go to commission these things. So my colleague should take me into confidence. We will discuss this outside the chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well.
Frankly, this is the Minister of State responsible for health. He has been asked a question to come to Parliament of record. And the Minister will give us vague answers without specifics. Can the Minister be kind enough to give the Honorable Member some specific assurance on timelines on when this will be answered? He should give us timelines. I just asked you earlier, please. This man is representing the good people of Akimoda, and they are counting on him to bring them answers. Give him the answers so he can take it to Akimoda.
Mr. Speaker, I have confidence in the minister. He's actually...
Honorable Member, I haven't called you. I was expecting the minister to respond to the leader. Minister, are you minded to respond to the minister? The member, the leader of...
Mr. Speaker, I have said here over and over again that I don't give assurances and I don't promise my colleagues and I don't give timelines because I don't control everything on earth. The Minister of Health functions when there is money. The Minister of Health functions when the proper MOU has been signed with understanding between the potential contractor and whatever it is like. At very initial stages of negotiations and discussions, Mr. Speaker, I find it very difficult and even very naive to start giving timelines when I very much know that I can't put my hand on in 3 weeks, 1 month, or even 6 weeks. So, Mr. Speaker, I always say that I'm working on some of these things, but I fall short of giving specific dates, right? To avoid the situation where some of my colleagues will draw me to the Assurances Committee to answer questions that may not easily be answered. So things are there that we are working on, but I will still fall short. When I haven't assured you nothing, how will you take me to Assurances Committee? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Bauer, I think this is a constituency specific.
Yes, I just want to draw your attention to something whilst I ask the question. Consistently, the Minister for Health, when you ask him for timelines, he will always refer to the Assurance Committee as a basis for which he will not give you timelines. As members of Parliament, we want to be able to supervise him. So it is the milestones that will let us supervise him. So he should tell us, give us a rough figure what the timelines are.
Now,
Mr. Speaker, I may need to do some checks to come and give timelines to this particular. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So, Honorable Member, you wanted to say something?
I wanted to say that I'm ready to work with the minister to ensure that the facility is given the needed upgrade very soon.
Very well. Honorable Minister for Health, on behalf of the House, I would like to thank you for attending upon the House to answer 11 separate questions, including urgent one. The House is grateful to you. You are hereby discharged. Honorable members, we turn to item 7. Item 7 in today's order paper, statements. We have 1, 2, 3 statements. 3 statements. And the first one stands in the name of a member for K2 South. Honorable Jifa Gomeshi. And the statement is on International Mother Language Day. International Mother Language Day. Honorable, the floor is yours. Let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am grateful for the opportunity to make this statement as we mark the significant International Mother Language Day. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I've just greeted you in 4 Ghanaian languages. 21st February of every year is dedicated to the celebration of International Mother Language all over the world. This day is an annual observance sponsored by United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. This year marks the 24th edition with the theme Multilingual Education and Necessity to Transform Education. The primary objective of the International Mother Language Day 2023 is to promote the preservation and protection of all languages, the awareness of linguistic and cultural diversity and multilingualism, as well as fostering quality, inclusive and equitable learning for our people. Mother tongue is said to be a very significant part of a person's identity. Mr. Speaker, in Ghana today, with the many indigenous languages we have, it is rather unfortunate that the number of children who can fluently speak and write their mother tongue is discouraging. Currently in Ghana, the language policy mandates the use of child's language in instruction, mother tongue as a language of instruction from kindergarten through primary 3, with English as the language of instruction thereafter. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, evidence proves that this directive is not being adhered to. A survey conducted by Family Health International 360 in 2018, sampling 7,105 schools, revealed that only 57% of the employed teachers that spoke the designated language of instruction. Osei Mesia 2015 researches that academic achievement is improved when students learn in their local or native languages. He also stated that the language policy in Ghana stipulates those local languages be used for instructions in basic school levels up to class 3. However, in practice, this is rarely the case due to structural and logistical challenges. According to research conducted by Yvonne Eyuam-Nitako and Nana Abba Apia Amfo in 2018, language is the primary symbolic medium through which cultural knowledge is communicated, negotiated, and reproduced. Most Ghanaian children today, in fact, cannot speak their mother tongue. English has become the most common form of communication in our schools, homes, offices, and churches. Avenues for children to hear and speak our local languages have completely been erased. This is made worse by the subtle monocultural community being promoted by some sections of our country. It is a fact that in Africa, the English language has shadowed indigenous languages. Many African countries still use their colonizers' language in their official transactions and deliberations, as well as medium of teaching and learning in schools. Mr. Speaker, Article 39(3) of the 1992 Constitution stipulates The state shall foster the development of Ghanaian languages and pride. Ghana has more than 46 different languages, which includes Twi, Ga, Ava, Hausa, Dagbani, etc. Our school curriculum these days does not make provision for Ava, Ga, and Twi lessons as we used to before. My recommendations, Mr. Speaker, are that Ghana Education Service needs to revise our school curriculum to bring back learning of our beautiful local languages. An every Ghanaian child who cannot speak or write his or her mother tongue is disheartening and is cut off from a lot of opportunities. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture can also encourage broadcasting of more locally produced educational and entertaining programs on our radio and television stations to create more awareness. This will also increase the interest in our mother tongue. Mr. Speaker, as an advocate for preserving our cultural values, it is imperative that I speak up on the deteriorating nature of this conundrum. GES cannot do this alone. Charity, they say, begins at home. Our dear mothers and fathers has a role to play. Let us make it our absolute responsibility to interact with our kids in our own mother tongue at home. Easily pick up the language. A child's formative years, which is from 0 to 5, is the point at which the brain can consume a lot of information, thus they can learn faster. Once these years are ignored, children become adults who cannot speak their own languages. Unfortunately, some parents speak English at home with their kids, albeit the English language itself is questionable. And teachers also speak mostly English at school. At what point exactly will our children actually hear our local languages and learn, Mr. Speaker? If we do not have a deliberate attempt to change this current situation, our children in the future will have no mother tongue to pass on to their children. We will lose the fight and lose the dividends thereof. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, as the people of Nigeria celebrate their Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, etc., and the people of France celebrate their French language, while the Chinese people celebrate their Mandarin, let us also embrace our indigenous languages. Ahade, Ahabaye Odona. Let us not lose our identity by copying blindly. Instead, let us cherish our own. To my fellow parliamentarians, we can contribute to this cause by ensuring that we speak mainly our local languages in our communities where we engage them. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Akpanami, Nagodi, Medamwase, Nyeyualadong.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me first come to Honorable Member for Fajatu.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement made by the MP for Ketu South. Ketu South MP, thank you so much for this statement, which is so dear to my heart and I believe so dear to the heart of a lot of Ghanaians. Today, when a child is born in a particular home, the parents decide not to use the mother language. The first language the child hears or will first of all learn from the parents will be sit down instead of Nwanyi, Tnase, Tashi, etc., etc. Mr. Speaker, we have lost it as a country because even in this chamber, our own standing orders makes room for a Ghanaian language to be used. But since 7th Parliament that I came to this house, I have never had the opportunity of listening to any member make a statement in Akan on Ever for an interpreter to interpret to our colleagues who don't speak those languages. Mr. Speaker, wouldn't it be better to start from this house by declaring a day of mother language so that at least in a session we can have at least 10 languages being used in the house over here for somebody to interpret, to start as a way of information to parents and outsiders that even in the house we use mother language once in a while. Mr. Speaker, for UNESCO to have established this celebration in 1999, which is about 24 years now, means they also saw the need for us to use our mother language in all we do. In our schools, I remember when I was in class 1, we were taught Ewe, Alo Ewe. When I joined my colleagues in Accra, we learned some Gan. Today, in my constituency, the Ewe teachers are not even available for them to be able to teach our kids the mother language. It is said that when a language fades, cultural diversity goes away with it. A research conducted by one of the professors I've forgotten says that in every 2 weeks, a mother language fades away. It's completely forgotten. Today in this country, you go to the market, instead of our market women to ask you, Ubeto, most of them will say, what are you buying? Please, let us do our best as a house to make sure that the policies we come up with, our own deliberations in our language, will also help in that direction to the outside world, that now we are ready to keep to our mother language and our heritage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this statement, and I thank Honorable Gomashi for a very well-researched statement made. Thank you.
Yes, let me come to Asunaba South Abuyakwa.
I'm grateful to you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to say a few words by way of contribution to this all-important statement at the behest of my good sister. Yes. Honorable Jifa Jumashi. Honorable Speaker, our colonial past has done a lot of damage to our culture. There's no dispute about it. Because apart from we being colonized by Britain, they've even changed our language, in material particular. And those who are well versed in education are saying that there is no language that a child can use for cognition and development more than the mother tongue. These are well-researched, conclusions of fact that educationists have come out with. Unfortunately for us, we had believed more in the English language than our own mother tongue. And what is even very sad is that we do not communicate the English language as much as the original owners do. So half the time we've not mastered the English language so well, and we have also jettisoned our mother tongue. So I hold a humble view that what are we going to do about this aberration? We should begin from the very least of education, the elementary school level, in which it should be compulsory that education should come through a child's mother tongue. This is something we should enforce. But we will not throw away the English language. But with time and alongside it also, because we are not in a village, but in an international arena, and the English language dominates the international arena, it should go alongside it. I believe that is the way to go. Because as we are talking now, I do not see how you can do serious business in America with Twi language. Equally, you cannot do good business in China with every language. When you go to India, I can't see how you can go and engage an Indian using the Nzima language, which is the language of my leader here. So, on the international stage, it's become imperative that the language that commands attention and understanding is the English language. We can't do anything about it. And even now, in this country, it seems to me that serious communication is being done in English language. Some of our dominant FM stations, the rest of it. But that should not detract from the fact that cognition and education scientifically is better transmitted, especially for infants, when it is done in their mother tongue. But there is a problem we all have as parents. I'm sure most members of parliament here engage their children in English language rather than the language of the parents. I, for instance, I'm an Achim man. I'm married to a Ga woman. And we don't speak Ga in my house. Well, I don't speak Ga anyway. Apart from Oye Fokeke. Meaning you are beautiful. I don't speak any good Ga language. Sometimes I say Kagbana. Don't worry me. I tell it to my wife because of how Santa I feel. And my children do not speak the Ga language. They don't speak Twi. So, Honorable is right. Until we start from the bottom, and we don't throw away what is natural to us. I mean, her submissions will be valid, and we will suffer in the end. So I think that you've touched on a very important issue, and it is the dichotomy which is the challenge. Are we to, go with the foreign language at the expense of the local language? I think we should find a healthy balance, and we'll be better off for that. I'm grateful to Honorable Speaker for the opportunity to add to what my good lady said. I'm grateful.
Yes, let me come to Busa South.
Mr. Speaker, manye Fijian nalnyini. Let me move. I'm not bisla. To it, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to also contribute in my mother language. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important conversation that we ought to have as a nation. And I'm very glad that our sister, the Honorable Jifagumashi, chose today to make such a very important statement. Mr. Speaker, with my background in anthropology, and I think this is common knowledge, that language is the medium through which traditions and cultures are passed on from one generation to the other. What this presupposes is that once you lose the language or you don't learn the language, you may be carrying yourself as a Busa, as an Ewe, as an Achim, as a Frafra, but you are deficient. You would never fully appreciate the culture and traditions of your people. So the importance of learning the mother tongue cannot be overemphasized. As has already been stated by other contributors to this great statement, the research is abundantly clear that between ages 0 and 5, that is where children have the capacity to learn multiple languages. And that is also where we, the parents, have to make an effort to ensure that they learn what we call the mother tongue. Mr. Speaker, whilst we are speaking about this generally, I think we also ought to look at the training of our teachers, particularly in the colleges of education, as it has to do with Ghanaian languages. It is true that we are not doing well. There are many schools where they are supposed to teach Ghanaian languages, at least at the junior high school level, and yet they cannot find the requisite teachers trained in those specific languages to teach. So whilst we are looking at our own role in beginning these processes at home, particularly those of us who claim to have been educated, we must also look at the formal structures in place to augment what we can start at the home level. Mr. Speaker, as Ghanaian as we are, many of us come from mixed family backgrounds. I think the Honorable Atachi just indicated he is an Achim man, his wife is a Gan. I am a Busa man, my wife is from Equiapem, for example. I am a Busa man, my father is a Busa man, my mother is a Kasuna, for example. And it has served me well. Fortunately for me, I can speak all those languages. And it even makes my life a lot more easier. So it is not just for the children, but even we as adults, it's not too late for us to learn other languages because it enhances our work, especially you politicians. If you can speak multiple languages, it's always an advantage. But bringing it back home, I think this should require some serious policy formulation and implementation, where we have to make a conscious effort to train enough teachers in Ghanaian languages so that they can augment what we would start from the home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me. Let
me now come to leadership. Are you ceding to? Yes, Honorable Ahmed, let me hear you.
I thought you were going to take one, then you come to leadership.
We have two other statements.
Okay. Then let me do this. The Speaker.
Let me come to Fulcrum first. Then. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me appreciate.
But please be brief.
Honorable member for bringing such an important issue to the fore. Mr. Speaker, I think the reason why perhaps it has become difficult for us to promote our mother tongue or our mother language is because over the years we have not been able to develop our own language for science and business. And just like Honorable Atachia said, whether we like it or not, English has become the language of science and business. And so it will be very difficult for any group of people to be able to advance, to socialize, and actually be an actor in the global world if you are not able to speak the languages that have been institutionalized as international languages for purposes of engaging other people in other jurisdictions. And so, since every parent wants their ward to grow to become a responsible global citizen, we have tended to encourage our wards to speak English, to the extent that even in our schools, you go to some schools that they have clearly written, speak English or don't speak any other language. And so parents have been motivated to even begin teaching their children and instructing them at home using the English language instead of teaching them their mother tongue. But I think this is something that we can do. We can combine the two. Since the schools are focused on teaching the official English language, I think the parents can also focus on teaching the mother tongue at home, so that you speak your mother tongue with your kids, and then when they go to school, they can learn the English. Surprisingly, children have the ability to learn multiple languages, especially when they are below the age of 10. And so, even if you want them to master English and your mother tongue language and French, they will be able to do so. So I think this is an important call, and it should remind all of us that, yes, we want our wards or our children to be able to speak English so that they can participate in the global business. But at the same time, since language is an epitome of our culture, anyone who cannot speak his or her language is somebody who is throwing his or her culture away. And so I think it's important we remind ourselves of the importance of keeping our mother tongue whilst at the same time trying to learn the international or the national language. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dafia Mapo, please be brief for me.
Speaker, so akpa manya glogana dano ba na mokoko ba mapumcho enya nyia yento danye sikacho katu south do na mi egba. Speaker, me pese me de akonya eda wasipi se wa ma me kwan se minka asem kakra efa nsema minuaba ofi Ketu South editu twa.
Will you do the interpretation?
Speaker, minto omada bushia ka wo ha mi be kodi sani ni inyami onupa ni je Ketu South de ka wo esia na mi nta o ma wi lukwe. Speaker, Mugodi. Speaker, to wit, I'm simply thanking you for the opportunity to add a few words in support of the statement made by my sister in respect of this matter on the floor. Speaker, the records show that even our own native language or the native languages that we speak individually in the various localities were developed for us and written in terms of the alphabet formulation and written by the Germans when they came in. Mr. Speaker, we have failed to build on the foundations that the Bremen mission laid for us in formulating and mastering the language first with us and progressing by formulating the alphabets with which we form constructions in the various native languages. By echoing what the Honorable Atachian said that, and again echoed by my brother, Dr. The member for Ofuriku, Dr. Amaf, that we are unable to communicate scientifically. And so we are handicapped in training our children using our native languages. In the liberal arts, it is easy. But in the world of the sciences, we are totally handicapped. Mr. Speaker, when you travel to East Africa, the entire East African countries, they speak Swahili. It's an official language. And gradually, they are formulating the scientific symbols and algorithms in Swahili. The Chinese have formulated all the scientific formulas and all the whatever they need for their science development in Chinese. The Chinese won't come to you and learn your language. They stick to their Chinese language. Even the food that they eat, they won't eat your culinary, the different culinary dishes that you have. They'll develop what they call a Chinese dish, establish a Chinese restaurant, and label it in Chinese. It takes us to do the translation to say this is a Chinese restaurant. Mr. Speaker, there are so many languages in this country. I think one of the difficulties we have is that the languages are so many that we are unable to settle on one or two, in addition to the former English language. So in as much as I agree that we need to transact more in our native languages, we need to relate more in our mother tongues, it is also important that we pay attention to the existing structure. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, it's only the School of Languages at Ejumako that trains our teachers and students in our native languages. Mr. Speaker, let us find out as a house how many languages are being taught at Ejumako as we speak. In 2017, as a young parliamentarian, I had a course to raise the issue of the dwindling number of teachers or persons who are pursuing courses in the Ewe language to be trained in Ewe as a tutor in the Ewe language. Because the GES now do not post teachers to Volta region because they teach Ewe. And Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, if you recall, there was an issue by the government. I saw a letter issued by the Gan state, let me put it that way, demanding that some teachers who had trained in the Gan language were being posted out of Accra. And it was a concern for them because if you post them out of Accra, it then became difficult for them to teach their children the Gan language. So I agree with her that we should do more in speaking and transacting in the local language. But it's also important that we take responsibility for the non-effectiveness with which we transact. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution provides that if a member on this floor decides to communicate in his native language, resources should be provided for him so that whatever he says will be interpreted. Mr. Speaker, I don't think that we have explored that avenue thus far. It's part of the handicaps that we have. So on this note, Mr. Speaker, I agree and I want to appreciate the issues raised by my sister. I wish that a committee could look into this and come back with some reports for further action. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
I now come to leadership.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. But, Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, let me show my commendation to our beautiful colleague who presented this statement. The statement is as beautiful as the maker. Mr. Speaker, how do you say romance in Ghanaian language? Say it, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, it is a very serious issue that our colleague has raised. The teaching of and promotion of Ghanaian language. Mr. Speaker, I remember 30-something years ago when I was in KG. Mr. Speaker, when I was in KG, when my KG teacher used to put me on his laps and would be teaching me the alphabets in Ghanaian language. Mr. Speaker, I still recollect what I was taught 30 years ago. Mr. Speaker, in this chamber, if you ask honorable colleagues to recite the alphabet in Ghanaian language, it will be a challenge. Mr. Speaker, that is the very foundation of the promotion of the Ghanaian languages. Mr. Speaker, when I got to University of Ghana, those who were taking courses in linguistics and English, you could see that more emphasis were laid on the Ghanaian languages. The Speaker, and when you meet them, you realize that they became multilingual because of the phonetics that they were taught even in the university. So if we want to talk about the promotion of Ghanaian languages, Mr. Speaker, much emphasis must be laid on the very foundation. We are quick to say A, B, C, D and recite them, instead of saying
Mr. Speaker, 30-something years ago, I was taught this. And because of that, any Ghanaian language book that you give to me, I just have to break the words into smaller distance, and I could read it. Mr. Speaker, there is the very foundation of the promotion of Ghanaian languages. If you come to our standing orders, Mr. Speaker, the last contributor, Honorable Rosinda Fiamapo, was reciting what happened in the East African countries. Yes, Mr. Speaker, it is true. We go there on study visit or study tour. They do proceedings on Kiswahili. Whether you understand or you don't understand, they don't care. Their standing orders and everything is on Kiswahili. You go to Kenya, they say. Zambia, they say. Tanzania, they say. So you'll be sitting there without even understanding what is happening. But Mr. Speaker, we have refused to adopt the Akan language, which constitutes about 49.1% of the total population in Ghana. They have adopted, if you go to Kenya, it's Kiswahili. You go to Tanzania, it's Kiswahili. You go to Zambia, it's Swahili. But you come to Ghana, you go to Upper West region, it's Dagare. You go to Upper East region, it's Frafra. You come to Northern region, it's Dagwani. You come to Savannah region, it's Gonya. You come to Bunu region, it's Akan. You come to Ashanti region, it's Ashanti Chi. So even the Akan has also been segregated. Mr. Speaker, there is no universal Ghanaian language adopted by Ghanaians. And even when you come to our house here, Order 47 is clear. It says, and Mr. Speaker, Order 47, with your permission, I quote, the proceedings of Parliament shall ordinarily be conducted in English. So we conduct proceedings in English language, except that a member may exercise the option to address the House in either, Mr. Speaker, listen, either Akan, Nzima, Gan, Ewe, Hausa, Dagbani, Dagari, or any other local language, provided facilities exist in the House for its interpretation. Mr. Speaker, what it says is that if I express myself in Ghanaian language, the onus doesn't lie upon me to translate it, but that is what we do here. The order says that provided facilities exist for its interpretation. Mr. Speaker, we go to International Parliamentary Union, and that's IPU. We conduct business. There are interpreters interpreting it in English, in Portuguese, in French, in Spanish, in about 7 or 9 international languages. They provide those facilities for interpretation. But over here, the standing orders say we must provide the facilities for interpretation. Do we have interpreters who can interpret whatever local language is said here? And these are the challenges. The Speaker, on important days like this, I would have opined that we conduct parliamentary business today in Akan. If you raise it, you get objection. Somebody will say, oh, me, I'm Dagare. And when I attended school, the language I was taught, the Ghanaian language I was taught, it was Dagare. So that person may have a legitimate concern. Mr. Speaker, before independent Ghana, we used to have what we call the Ashanti Empire. It extended to Cote d'Ivoire, extended to Togo. So all